More and more people are using ChatGPT every day. I'm actually one of them. And since it's so new, many parents are actually wondering what effects it will have on their children over time. So Larry Roberts, the Red Hat guy, is back to break down a new study and his biggest takeaways from that study. Hello, Larry.
Hello, good morning.
So glad to have you, especially because I think all of us are wondering at this point about AI and the effects, long-term effects that it will have. So if you can, expand upon the MIT study that you looked into and what were your findings?
Yeah, there was a study that was recently done by MIT that looked at the impacts on brain activity and critical thinking skills in users that use ChatGPT and large language models on a regular basis.
Interesting. Okay, so tell me, how was the study set up? How did they end up diving into this investigation?
Sure. Well, it was set up with 54 people initially, and they were given an assignment to write multiple essays, SAT-style essays, over the course of several months. Now, the first group was allowed to use ChatGPT to help write those essays.
Okay.
The second group was allowed to use Google Search to help write their essays.
Okay.
And then the third group, they just had to use brain power.
Brain power only. Got it. Okay, so basically what it was about 20 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe even 10, honestly, because I didn't have ChatGPT when I was in school. So then tell me, what did they find about the group that used solely ChatGPT? Because I'm going to tell you right now, ChatGPT does pump out some good essays, although they can be they can come up multiple times for different people, right?
Exactly. That's one of the things that they saw.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Between the users that use ChatGPT, a lot of their essays were very, very similar. They seemed to lack creativity, and they also showed the lowest level of brain activity when writing the essays.
Yikes.
And actually, over the course of the several months, they started getting lazier and lazier to the point where they were simply having ChatGPT write the entire thing.
And you know what? It's so easy to fall into that space, right, of just using it and getting used to it, because honestly, it's almost better than TikTok, you guys. You know, people were saying TikTok was better than Google. ChatGPT is better than TikTok because it literally gives you an answer for any and everything. What about the brain-only group, though? How did they perform?
Dude, they were off the charts. They had the highest level of brain activity.
Really?
They had the most creativity in their essays, and they also felt better overall about the work they'd done.
You know what? I completely agree with that. I think back to the times when we were in school, right, and you had to muscle up a 3-page essay, right? And it took a little time, but you were so proud of the work you had after you were done. What about the group with Google Search?
Google Search, they also had a high level of brain activity, not quite as high as the brain-only group, but significantly higher than the ChatGPT group.
But I think that's a nice middle ground, right? Because we do research, right, for papers all the time. And so having that incorporated isn't a bad thing. And I think you can learn something new when it comes to Google Search as well, instead of letting something like an app like ChatGPT do all the work.
Well, the concern there is that people are using ChatGPT instead of search engines today. So that's something we got to be aware of going forward as well.
We're skipping the research part altogether. We're like, just put it in an essay for us. We're not even worried about it. We don't even need to read it. Okay, understand. Do you think that's the biggest concern for younger users, that they'll become dependent on this?
Well, and over-reliance on AI is definitely a concern, especially in young children and teens, as they're going through that developmental phase of developing cognitive skills and problem-solving skills. So it's definitely a concern.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking students, right? But I think we use it, you use it, everyone uses it in their industries now, and I think people want to get on top of it so they're not left behind. But will it hurt all of us in the long run?
I don't know that it'll hurt all of us, but there was actually a follow-up study in the software engineering industry, and especially in the younger programmers, because these large language models are great at writing code as well. We were seeing more productivity, but less problem-solving skills in some of these younger programmers.
Interesting. Okay, so you were saying that this study has been shared widely, and so tell me the irony and how it's being shared.
Well, the irony is people are taking and copying the entire study, putting it into ChatGPT and summarizing it, and then sharing it on their social media.
Wow. Okay, so basically, we're not, what is that? That's plagiarism. That is plagiarism, and we don't want to dabble in that, too. That's the quickest way to get kicked out of anything.
For sure.
So what do you think is the biggest takeaway for parents, teachers, everybody, to accept AI, but maybe not depend on it so much?
Yeah, you know, AI is a great tool, but we have to teach our children to think first, then introduce them to the tool.
That's a really
You can't put the tech before the teaching.
There you go. There you go. Teaching before tech. I like that. You should get that put on a hat or something. Maybe even a red hat.
Maybe so.
Yes, indeed. Larry, thank you so much for being here for this wonderful information that we got today. Tell us where we can find you.
LarryRoberts.com.
There you go. Just as easy as that. Thank you so much.